Hey there, Angry Faithful. I just wanted to drop in, bend your ear a little bit, get your attention. So if you're not listening, drop what you're doing and pay attention to me because I'm here to inform you that not only can you get your daily, maybe if you're binging it, I'm not sure, that's entirely up to you, but you can multiply your doses of angry me fuckery by paying attention to all of the platforms upon which you can find either the dulcet tones of my voice and David's voice or my pretty face and David's not so pretty face. Anyways, digressing, we not only we are on YouTube, we are on Spotify, we're on Rumble, we're on Google, Apple Podcast. We have a TikTok page. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and of course Facebook. So if you find yourself fuckery deprived, curl up with a nice hot mug of shut the fuck up and just listen. Open those ear holes and be prepared to be cream pied like it's the first time. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, Angry Faithful. Today on Psychos and Sociopaths, we're going to go over Heidi Marie Littlefield. Now, on this case, it was updated on October 7th, 2022. So this recently happened. We got this from Long Crumb. We got a video from it a while ago, and I sent it to Johnny. But basically, she got 60 years for murder, 35 years for conspiracy to commit murder resulting in death, and 20 years conspiracy to commit murder but not resulting in death for the attempting poisoning. Now, a lot of people do not understand is they try to chunk as much stuff at these people so they hopefully something sticks. So if the murder charge doesn't stick, the attempt to murder sticks, yada yada yada. And that's the reason why a lot of these cases has like 15 different things on them, because they're hoping something would stick. But the whole reason why Heidi ended up killing Francis Kelly, 46, was because he was basically getting parental rights and she was a drug addict. I mean, if you look at the photos of this chick, it's just horrendously ugly.
Mm-hmm.
God. No.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on the victim in this particular case, and he grew up in Ohio, went to Ohio State University, got an MBA, and then moved to Indianapolis. And in the process of starting his life, starting his career, he managed to accumulate two different baby mamas. Had a really good relationship with the older of the two children's moms. This one, yeah, kind of not so much. She really refused to let him be alone with the kids or the kid. When it was his weekend, she would stay at his house, kind of things of that nature. And, it was kind of borderline between helicopter momming and psycho hose beast. So
like Gypsy Rose type shit.
Well, not necessarily Gypsy Rose, because if you really paid attention to the Gypsy Rose case, well, Gypsy Rose had a helicopter mom. The helicopter mom had her motives for being that way because she was in the process of committing mass fraud. I mean, she took advantage of a lot of different disabled persons programs.
Yeah.
Took advantage of the displaced Katrina residents program, Habitat for Humanity, things of that nature, and really sucked her daughter into the whole thing. Had teeth removed when they didn't need to be removed. Was constantly medicating her daughter for absolutely no reason at all. And I want to say there was a Hulu series.
Yeah, it
It
was
was called The
Hulu
Gift.
series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, Candy popped me onto that one.
Yeah, I
I was
mean,
like,
I started that one, and I got right up to the part where she had her internet boyfriend come in on a bus and he stabbed her mom to death before they tried to pop town.
yeah.
But in the case, where it relates to Heidi Marie Littlefield, I mean, I mean, where do we start on this?
I mean,
I mean,
it was
she
just
was
a drug
trying to slowly poison her boyfriend.
with fentanyl. Yeah.
With fentanyl. I think there
She
was some
hired a
meth
hitman
involved.
for 2,500. Uh,
I mean, she even recruited her older daughter to get in on it, and her older daughter had and well had I say had um, drug problems,
yeah.
and so she was like, "Look, I will pay you guys," and she tried to hire a hitman through her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. Um, that deal went sideways because instead of using the money to go hire a hitman, her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend
But drugs.
blew it out on drugs and booze, and they went on just like this huge bender. And so the mom was like, hey, we got to do this now because your boyfriend still owes me money. And if you want to call it fair, just call it square, you guys are going to help me, kind of a deal. And yeah, so it's
It's one of those crazy. I mean, it would
yeah.
make a funny movie if it wasn't true.
Well, you know, I I would say that this would be one of those lifetime movie of the weeks, but
Actually, I think it was on Oxygen. So
but
it's almost the
but
same.
little but uh Heidi Littlefield wasn't getting beat. She wasn't a victim of anything.
No. But that was another strange thing about the case was she kept on saying that she was getting beat, she was getting hurt, and all kinds of stuff. Tried to get this baby uh, away from the father, which it's sad and it does happen, and it comes to the point to where the judge was actually going to give rights to the father,
Hmm.
and she just started doing all this crazy stuff, and the judge figured out, was like, this bitch is crazy, we need to get her away from him as fast as possible, or away
Yeah.
from her as fast as possible. Sorry about that. And and it wasn't just like a, oh, she's gonna dump all the poison all in his oatmeal, which that's what happened. No, it was a gradual thing. He actually missed work a couple of days, and his job was like, oh, he doesn't miss days, he's never sick. What's going on? Something is going on.
Yeah.
And I think that the work actually called in like a welfare check to find out what's going on.
Well, no, it wasn't his job that called in the welfare check. It was actually the other baby mama because
Oh,
he,
okay.
because a lot of things in what was his name? Francis Kelly's life, he was very studious about being punctual. I mean, he was one of these guys that showed up early and clocked out late.
Yeah.
And he, the morning that all of this started to happen at an accelerated rate, he had his kid over, and Heidi Littlefield was in the house, and he uh he gets some oatmeal out of the fridge because he had made some oatmeal, like how people like they do that overnight soak or not email oatmeal type stuff.
Yeah.
So he went to go get his breakfast out of the refrigerator, and he said that the oatmeal it tasted funny, and he asked Heidi about it, and he was like, look, you were the last one in the fridge, my oatmeal tastes funny, and now I don't feel good. And she's like, she replies with, "Who the fuck puts oatmeal in the fridge?" Right? Like she's trying to kind of putting it off on him, like, well, the reason why it tastes funny is because it's in the fridge. Who does that?
Yeah.
Well, what she was doing was she was crushing up fentanyl and she was crushing up meth and she was sprinkling it on his food. And the daughter was supplying her with these drugs. And so he didn't think anything of it. He throws the rest of the oatmeal away and he goes to work. And he about halfway through the day tells his boss, "Look, I don't feel good." And Francis Kelly was not one of these people who called out, who never checked out late, I mean, early, kind of a thing. He was a very loyal and very hardworking employee.
Yeah.
And so his boss is like, well, you know, uh, yeah, you can go home. He goes, well, I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna try to finish out the day working from home. And the boss was like, okay, I hope you feel better. And he logged out at 1:30 from his home, from his laptop at home. Well, he was supposed to pick up his other kid that night, and the other baby's the other child's mother um, was like, "He's late. He's never late." So she called him, and he didn't answer. So she called the police and said, "Hey, look, he's supposed to be here to pick up our kid, and he's not here." And he's never late, and he always answers his phone. He didn't answer his phone. Can we get somebody to go over there and check it out? And well, actually, I think that happened the day after. But when he clocked out, when he logged off, um, Heidi Littlefield and her daughter go over there, and he's on the floor, sprawled out in the living room floor, struggling to breathe. Right.
Yeah.
And so she's like telling her daughter, go over there and break his neck. She's like, I can't do that. Right. The daughter is having this like attack of conscience, and basically just her, you know, drug riddled spine just turns to jello. And she's like, I can't do it. So Heidi goes into his closet and gets one of his favorite ties out of the closet and then strangles him with it. And so after he's dead, right, she goes, all right, I need all of the pills and I need all of the drugs because we need to try to make this look like a suicide or an overdose, right? So they start throwing drugs all over his body, like all the pills all around his body, leaving
I
empty
wonder if they
bottles.
made a mural of it, like, a happy face or some
I
shit
don't
like
think
that. That would
so.
have been
But
fucked
I mean,
up.
like they just kind of just sprinkled them all over the place, like he collapsed.
That would be fucked up if they did do that, though.
It would be, but yeah, I mean, based on what I've read from a couple different sources about what the crime scene looked like, um, so they she takes the tie off of him or whatever, and uh, anyway, so they leave the body and they leave the house. Well, the next day, the police officers go by the house to do the welfare check, because I mean, again, he didn't show up for work. He didn't show up for his visitation with his child. And police got there, discovered the body, and immediately, the investigation started. But
Yeah, and I was also reading they poisoned him like 3 different times.
yeah, I mean, it had been a continuous thing. They were trying to continuously poison him, and he would go through these spells of not feeling good, feeling sick, because they were trying to put all of these drugs into his system because initially they wanted to take him to court and bring up drug use and have him drug tested so that way he would lose custody of the kids, right? Because what had happened was is he was keeping track of all of these different things that she was doing, and he was going to take her to court to try to sue for custody, full custody of their kid, of their child, excuse me. Well, she figured this out and immediately went on the defensive. It's like, well, you're not going to take my kid away from me, kind of a thing. um So, she was plotting this whole time to try to make him look bad in court. Well, in the end of it, I think the child is now either with his parents, or the child's in the system. But I mean, generally speaking, they try to go with um, the next of kin.
Yeah.
So,
I,
but
I was trying to find out uh the rest of that stuff for this, but all I'm get and I ended up hitting something. I don't know. This is like the second time I've done some shit like that.
yeah, I mean, it says the murder stemmed from a custody dispute. Kelly was the father of Littlefield's younger of then 2-year-old daughter. There was a hearing scheduled for January 27th of last year because Kelly claimed that Littlefield was violating the parenting time order. And according to cops in Carmel, Indiana, um, he claimed that she was not letting him pick up their daughter, and Littlefield would stay in his house during parenting time. Relative told investigators that after the crime, she said that Littlefield even made state or he a relative told investigators after the crime that Littlefield even made statements about the victim's death. He's better off dead. I didn't mean to kill him last time. I might as well say I did it and just say I'm crazy and pregnant, the relative quoting Littlefield reportedly said. Littlefield also reportedly claimed Kelly was abusive and said she would be failing her daughter if the dude didn't end up dead, according to the Indianapolis Star. Now, as part of the plot, Littlefield gave Walker, the daughter's boyfriend, $2,500 to hire a hitman. Now, Runyon, which is the boyfriend's last name, pled guilty to a charge of conspiracy to commit murder, testified against her mother as part of a plea deal. Now, Runyon reportedly testified that she and Walker used the hitman money for drugs, clothes, and hotels. Now, a prosecutor had asked Runyon why she participated in the murder plot. Because I love her, and because we never really had a good relationship, she reportedly answered. Now, Littlefield plotted with Runyon to buy fentanyl from Ohio drug dealers, then poisoned Kelly's food 3 times. This included poisoning his takeout miso soup and his oatmeal. Prior to his death, Kelly suspected something was wrong with the oatmeal and that Littlefield was responsible. Did you do something to the oatmeal that was in my fridge? He reportedly texted his eventual killer on January 14th of last year, shortly before she strangled him with his tie and smashed his head to the floor. Now, what the actual fuck are you talking about? Littlefield replied. You were in my fridge last night, and it tasted funny after a couple of bites, and now I'm lightheaded, Kelly wrote. Littlefield reportedly deflected and turned it around on the victim. Who the fuck puts oatmeal in a fridge? She asked. I don't know anything you do or want to. Your life and the stuff you say and do is beyond me. Littlefield has now learned her fate, a century-long prison sentence. Runyon was sentenced to 26 years in prison for her role in the crime, and Walker, the boyfriend who pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. So, I mean, it's the 3 offending parties. They got what they had coming to them.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, all right. Do we
Honestly, I think she should have gotten after the pregnancy, because she's pregnant right now. After the pregnancy and the baby was out of her body, I think they should have killed her.
Well,
it's one of those things.
Here's the thing, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. And I understand where you're going, because I'm in the same mindset. I'm like, you know what? Stick a needle in her arm and just be done with it. Cremate her body and just send the remains off somewhere like next to kin. But with the oh crap, with the way that capital murder is set up, I'm not sure that Indiana has it. And 2, in order to get capital murder sentenced or passed down to somebody, I mean a capital punishment rather, In order to get
It has to
that,
be
I
unanimous.
mean, it has to be severe. And I'm like, okay, so
I don't know how. Okay, on something like this, one, it was premeditated. She tried to hire a hitman. It's premeditated. For one. For two, this is like they figured out this is like the third attempt. Basically, she three times she's actually attempted to murder him.
mhm.
Okay, so that's three extra right there if you want to go on like timetables of points. But it's just every piece of evidence on this is she wanted this guy dead, and she even had to fucking choke him. There's evidence of uh a trauma to the head, which it could have been when he fell down, or he could just lay down. We don't know that part. Okay.
Mhm.
That's the only part, it's kind of some
Well, I
speculation.
mean, I mean, because they think that it was fentanyl that she put in his oatmeal. So with him feeling lightheaded, and it doesn't take, I mean, if you look, there's pictures out there. Um, there's um, there's fentanyl and there's two other drugs that are right next to it. I mean, it doesn't take a huge dose of fentanyl to be fatal. And
Mm-mm.
case in point, especially up there in Wichita Falls now, um, there's this huge fentanyl problem where they're figuring out how to make it look like other things like Skittles or something like that, or they're putting it in sealed bags of candy and giving it out to kids.
Yeah,
You
Doctor
know,
Doctor Phil was talking about it on Joe Rogan this week.
so
And
I'm
that's
sitting
just
there.
a fucking scary thing.
It is. I mean, and
As I
I mean,
put a bag of
it's just
candy.
like it's just like caffeine, right?
Yeah,
We consume hundreds of milligrams of caffeine a week. Okay, probably tens of thousands of milligrams a year. I know personally that it's only what one, two. It's Wednesday, and I've probably topped out at like 8, 9, maybe 1,000 milligrams of caffeine already. Because I mean, I have 2 to 3 cups of coffee a damn day.
I
On
don't know
top
how
of
you do that
Red
without like.
Bulls. Do what?
I don't know how you do that without leaking. I have like 1 cup.
Well, I do leak. It's called taking a piss.
Oh no, I'm
But
talking about the other side. If I drink too much coffee, if I had like 2 cups of coffee a day, I'm
oh no, the coffee definitely works. I'll just say that. you know,
yeah,
but I mean, but here's the thing: pure caffeine has to be added and diluted. So the amount that you're getting in a single serving, if it were by itself, could be fatal.
yeah.
So
I mean, you
when
have to do a shit ton of caffeine. You have to take, I think,
well,
like 6 pills.
yeah, like okay, so no, not no. Even the no dose pills that like you see truckers take and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're 200 milligrams a piece.
Right, but that's not pure caffeine. I'm talking about the purest form of caffeine. Because like when they decaffeinate coffee beans, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chemical process that draws that caffeine out, they filter it, refine, and repurify the caffeine. That stuff is put into bags and it's shipped off to energy drink makers. Okay. And that's where that stuff goes. It goes to pharmaceutical companies that make things like No Dose and Stay Alert and 5 Hour Energy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but if you were to take just a very small dose of, I mean, even just a couple of granules of pure, unadulterated caffeine, it could very well be fatal depending on whether or not you dilute it with anything like water, or if you're just dropping a couple of granules under the tongue, you might as well just go ahead and make your mends because it's going to hit your heart and it's going to make it explode. Um, that's why like on long road trips, I like to drink a lot of water. I like to I do like to drink coffee. I try to stay away from the carbonated stuff just because, you're stagnant for that many hours at a time, and it all goes straight to your gut. But
Yeah. I usually
you
just
get
drink
jittery.
Yeah.
You get jittery after a while, and it's like whenever I have to make the drive to Wichita Falls and back to get my boys on the weekends that I get them. Um, it's dude, by the time I get home back down here to Lake Jackson, it's 12:30, and I've been on the road for, I don't know, 16 hours, because I try to get up there enough time to where I can kind of relax, I can stretch before I have to pick them, before I pick them up and get back on the road. Um, but I mean, thank God for the legal process and it actually working for a change.
Yeah.
That I finally got some reprieve there. So, but that's a conversation for you and me to have off camera. But
Yeah.
um, when as it relates to the fentanyl and the meth and things like that, she was just, yeah, she was trying to kill him via poisoning, but she wasn't doing it very smartly, and I mean, she was trying to make it look like he was overdosing,
Yeah.
or that his body just gave out because he had a drug habit. She was trying to run this guy's name into the dirt,
But
and
what's really sad is people that actually have drug habits. I mean, from what Brock was telling me, you can't really tell. And
you can, but you have to be aware of what the signs are. You have to be aware of what their tells are. I mean, it's just like Jimmy Fallon he's been described as a very high functioning alcoholic.
yeah.
I mean, you and I both were in the military. We know firsthand what that life's all about. So it's with the way that she was trying to conduct this. I mean, it at best, she might have been able to plead some kind of like mental instability and maybe unfit to stand trial. That
Well,
kind
she
of
was
thing.
trying. She was like, "I'm crazy and I'm pregnant."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because she was making those kinds of comments, but I think by virtue of the fact that she made that particular statement, where she's just like, "I'll just tell him I'm crazy and pregnant."
Yeah.
That
I knew she was in trouble.
yeah. I mean, that tells me that she was very aware of the situation. So I'm not buying the whole thing about her being crazy and pregnant, because I mean, she smashed his head into the floor, and then when that didn't work, she choked him. She strangled him with his tie.
Yeah.
And you know and and I hate to be cynical about this, but you and I both know, being on the father side of the family law, right? It's a very large uphill battle for us to get any kind of concessions, any kind of rights, or any kind of victory, right?
Yeah.
And they come very, very far few and in between. But when somebody's actively trying to poison you, actively trying to end your life, I mean, should he have gone to the doctor sooner and said, "Hey, I don't feel good. I think somebody's messing with my food." The doctor would have run all kinds of tests. They would have immediately run a blood test, a urine test. They would have run everything to screen out toxins, poisons, barbiturates, whatever, opiates.
Well, that's all fair and good, like, but in all reality, if you're just feeling like a little woozy and everything, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I know, but
It's one of those things is you can say going after the fact. I was like, oh, if he felt this, he needs to go.
well, yeah, I mean, it's
I'm
like saying,
I'm not gonna
if you'd
go
have
to the
just gotten
doctor.
treatment, if you'd have actually just gotten screened for this
Yeah,
cancer sooner, we could have gotten ahead of it. Yeah, I mean, I know hindsight's all 2020, and we can play Monday morning quarterback all that we want, but at the end of the day, there's still a guy that's dead, and there's two kids who don't have a father now. And one of
Exactly.
those kids doesn't have a parent or at all, because dad's dead and mom's in prison. Mom's going to be in prison for a long time.
Actually, two kids if you count the one that's in her stomach.
That's true. So, there's three kids ultimately that are affected by this one woman's actions.
Well,
And
I
it's
think
because, and I think what it is, it's part of a larger problem in this country where, and let me preface this before I go on this mini soapbox tirade here. I believe in co-parenting. I believe in 50-50 custody. I believe in sharing equal responsibility for the raising of those kids. Okay. I'm not anti-child support. I pay my child support. Yes, I've gotten behind on my child support, but I'm making amends towards getting caught up.
yeah.
Okay. So transparency, that, right? But at the end of it, what I'm going for is he was having to resort to building a case on his own before he could even approach a lawyer to even think about filing a motion to modify anything in family court, because family court
Usually with
has,
the mother unless they have like evidence saying
yeah,
different.
there has to be evidence. There has to be established patterns of either a misconduct, gross negligence, which in that case sometimes doesn't even work, because the mother could be grossly negligent and she could still retain custody of the kids. Now, we've seen here in the last couple of years where fathers' rights are really starting to become more of a,
More prevalent, and
yeah, I mean, they're
they're
becoming
realizing
more prevalent. Yeah.
that some of the mothers are just using the kid as a paycheck.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that it goes back to the breakdown of the, this is an old, I mean, this may be an archaic term, but it goes down to the breakdown of the atomic family model.
Yeah, the
You
nuclear
a
family.
mother and a father, two and a half kids and a white picket fence, kind of a thing. But when you break up that family model and you don't, not, I mean, and I'm not making excuses for the men who have walked out of their kids' lives, their wives' lives, have walked out on their families for a gallon of milk or a carton of cigarettes and never came back. I'm not making excuses for those guys. I'm not making excuses for those women, because it goes both ways. What I am saying, however, is that the family court system has become incredibly skewed and jaded towards the female side of the equation, because these men have been pushed out in some cases, um and it's just like the male genitalia, for the most part, over the last 50-60 years, as it relates to family court, has really just been kind of demonized. And well, mother may know best. Back in the 40s and 50s, there used to be a show called Father Knows Best. And but I'm I'm trying to, I feel like I'm growing in a lot of ways, because I'm like, okay, look, instead of trying to make this about you and me, we've got kids involved. There are kids that have a direct, I mean, that get directly affected by the behavior of
Yeah,
the
they've
adults.
actually noticed that there's like 1,000 degrees to where the kid how much the kids are affected to a divorced parents. I mean,
Yeah,
even if you fight, and there's a lot of people, and which is really sad is they talk bad about their significant other in front of the kids, and the kids catch up on that, and
yeah, I mean, okay, so like in my case, my boys, whenever I've got them, they're like, hey, what's wrong? And I'm like, It's, you know, it's nothing that you need to worry about. I've got some things that I need to try to figure out, you know, and I try to keep them out of the middle as much as I possibly can. Now, I can't speak to the other side of it because one, I'm 6.5 hours away, and two, you know, all of the, how can I say this without uh being disparaging or what's the word, defamatory. Eh, there's really been no, well, I'll just say this, it's been a difficult battle, okay, for seemingly what seems to be like absolutely no reason at all. I mean, you know, we were so many years after the fact, but yet we still want to act like this is all fresh. Fine, whatever, you want to be that way, great. I'm trying to do the best that I can. And, you know, and I mean, like I said, but it goes both ways. I mean, there's a lot of cases out there where the dad is just a flaming prick, you know. And you see a lot of these memes, you see a lot of these men support groups that are out there that are like, child support shouldn't be for uh broken relationships, it should be for absentee parents. And you know, I happen to be of kind of that mindset, and I know that you probably are too. And a lot of our listeners may end up actually agreeing with that without even realizing it, because the purpose of child support is, hey, look, if you don't want to be a part of this kid's life, then at the very least you're going to be financially responsible. And I
Yeah.
get that. I'm 100% behind the idea that parents should be financially responsible for their offspring. However, I'm also a very huge advocate of the 50-50 split. So,
Yeah, because
you
the
know,
kid's going to. I mean, when when my daughter comes here for vacation for the month,
mhm,
still having to pay child support, and me and my daughter had to have a talk about this bullshit because she's like,
right.
every time I go down there, you don't have any money. I was like, you do realize why I don't have any money? She's like, because you're coming down here and $600 is still going to your mother. She's like, what? I was like, yeah. Just because you're here doesn't mean my payments stop.
Mhm.
And I had to tell her, I flat out told her, I was like, you know how much I make? She's like, no, I make such and such amount of money. And she was surprised. She's like, that's like double what my mom makes. I was like, exactly. Now, taking that factor that I have to pay your mother no matter what, even though you're down here, $600 or $700 just
Mhm.
for you, and then I still have to take care of you. Do you think that's right? She's like, no, that's kind of crap. I was like, yeah, exactly.
Not to mention travel expenses.
Not to
Uh,
mention travel expenses. I pay for that myself, and she
yeah,
comes down here, and I was like, can we
and
meet?
that's a both ways. We pay for that both ways,
Yeah.
you know.
And I told her,
And
and I keep on trying to get her. It's like, hey, listen, why don't we just meet at halfway? And this is, I gave up on that fucking shit. And the reason why she does not want to go halfway is because of the basic fact she has friends here that she wants to visit every time she's here.
well, they get fine. She can bring her down here the whole way.
Yeah. Um.
But see, when you said that, when you uttered the magic phrase halfway, I don't want to say it triggered me, but it elicited some feelings. How about that?
Yeah, I
But
get that.
but you're familiar with that situation. You and I have discussed that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Heidi Littlefield case, I mean, the fact that she got what
She
was
got
it,
115
26
years.
years? Yeah, I mean,
That's
she
a
got
combination with all
she got,
the stuff that we
she's
talked
not getting out. Now, it did not say whether or not she had a chance for parole. I don't know if she did or not.
well
Um,
on stuff like okay on stuff like this, and this is just to get everybody into the legal side of something like this. Reason why everybody, because I've had people ask me, it's like, when you're doing these cases, why do they have to do like 99 years? They're not going to get out of that. It's like they do that for a reason. That's a combination of it's each murder. So they go say they're a model prisoner. They go 15 years, or they get the halfway point of the 15 years, 7 years. They're model prisoners, so they get parole on that one.
Yeah,
You
I
get
mean,
parole, but they still have to stay in
well,
jail for
plus
the other 15 ones, and sometimes that's
once you
really worse.
get, I mean, yeah, I mean, if they've got multiple convictions and they're running these sentences concurrently,
Yeah,
I think it effectively eliminates the opportunity for parole.
yeah,
But, and it's like, okay, if let's just say that she were to be on her best behavior, she applies for parole, and for some ungodly reason, she gets it, right? And she is released into the general public. What kind of conditions do you think that she would be put under? Not have contact with your children, don't have contact with anybody who's associated with the case, blah, 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 blah. What kind of, I mean, at what point do they consider her to be rehabilitated? I mean, but I mean, if they've effectively eliminated the opportunity for parole, then I'm thinking, okay, I think that I mean, at least because if I were Francis Kelly's family, excuse me, I don't think that I would be. I
I
mean,
wouldn't be
well,
happy
no, let
to
me
be
rephrase
in
that. I
that.
would be actively campaigning to deny her parole, excuse me, parole at every opportunity.
Yeah,
Just simply due to the fact that one, you took my son away. You murdered my son.
and you took our grandchild's father away.
Yeah,
You've
and I mean,
done so.
you
You've done
ruined the
so much,
life of our grandchildren.
and that's what a lot of people don't understand on a lot of stuff. And the best example I could possibly give you, and we're not going into suicide stuff or anything like that, but this is the best way you can come up with. Have you ever seen an actual suicide bomber? Just
I've
it,
seen
it
what's left of them. Yeah.
okay. It's literally a circle of pain and suffering. You look at you got people that actually died from it, and you see those people. And each part or further away you get from that bomb, you might get shrapnel, but that person might not be able to walk anymore, or
Yeah.
something traveling. So you still have the ripple effect of that bomb going off, touching these people that now technically are together because of this idiot decided to blow up, and he's affecting all these lives.
Hmm.
And that's what happens in any kind of murder case. You don't look at, I mean, even I I I want to believe in humanity sometimes, and even working corrections and everything. I just I have this distinct feeling of how horrible humanity actually is, and a lot of people
Right.
hate it the way I talk sometimes, because the basic fact is like it's you got to look at it this way, because it doesn't seem like I have feelings for other human. I'm a very humane person. I'm a
Well, once you're exposed to that kind of
darkness.
carnage, that kind of
Yeah.
behavior, the coping mechanisms that a lot of the people in our community, um, whether it be law enforcement, first responder, or military, the coping mechanisms that we possess and that we employ and that we deploy on a daily basis are abrasive to a lot of the people that aren't privy to those sights, those sounds, and even in a lot of cases, those smells.
Yeah.
So, it to I want to I kind of want to I'm probably misusing this term, but to the unchurched, to the unbelieved, you know, it's it's crass, it's dark, it's morbid, and it's cold, and it's very callous. And we have to be that way because we have to find ourselves in a position to compartmentalize everything.
Yeah. Well,
Because
Even Tansy said it on the last podcast that I had him on. It was I think he said it was like his first 5 days of
yeah,
being a police officer, and they just got a person that had been in the shower and their body was bloated and skin was falling off. They couldn't get anything off of this. And I sympathize with him because of the fact that I had to deal with the type of body that his skin was falling off through fire because some idiot decided to put CO gas in a fucking cell when he was trying to light something on fire. Anyways, it's understandable. He started to understand reason why you don't it's you don't name your chicken type deal.
Yeah.
You don't name your chicken because you're gonna have to chop its head off and eat it. And then that's the reason why
Lucky tasted real
apartment
good.
what the fuck? No, hold on. I can't say the damn word.
Apartment?
No, not apartment. Apartment.
Compartmentalized?
Yes.
Okay. You're welcome.
Yeah. I just couldn't get the word out. I had it in my fucking head like 3 different fucking times, and I just couldn't get it out of my mouth. Like most things. So, anyways,
So glad you went there because I was going to.
I know. Sometimes you got to hit yourself in the stomach. Anyways, but you have to take them and not give them names. You can't give them, I did them. I hanged out with this person at this day type deal. It's a victim. And he couldn't understand. He literally told me, he's like, he couldn't understand the basic fact of how these people are treating this whole scenario, laughing at him because it was his first like body. And he was special forces, I think, from what he said. And he's like, this is my first body I had to deal with as a police officer. And it was the most disgusting thing. I've never seen like skin just come off. I was like, oh, really? Aren't you? But
where they're usually at they're usually at a at a standoff distance. There's a cushion between him and the intended target in his former profession.
yeah,
And I find that a lot too with like my son, my oldest. He has stuff that he sees at work that bothers him. And and I'm like, I get it. And I really, I just want to grab him, and I just want to, I know this sounds, cliche, but I just want to grab him and I want to hug him. And I just want to tell him that it's going to be okay. But I know that this is, part of the profession that he chose.
yeah,
And for the most part, he absolutely loves his job. And, it's unfortunate that we need people like him, like Tansy, to kind of continue to stand in the breach and do the things that are necessary to keep everybody else safe. And I kind of take a phrase that I remember hearing when he was at his police academy graduation. So it's a privilege that we get to say the Pledge of Allegiance in the state of Texas, and it's an honor that we get to do it armed. So I'm completely and totally, empathetic with with the sights, the sounds, the smells, the experiences that our law enforcement or first responders that they see on a daily basis that we may not fully completely understand. Because as members of the military, we're trained to deal with the most evil that the world has to offer, and it's our job to enact violence upon them. But as police officers, they have to deal with that at home.
yeah,
And it's a very personal job for them because they're having to do, a version of their previous profession in their own backyard. So it's a very personal thing for them.
yeah.
And it affects them a lot more. But
Especially since you see the guy at a convenience store, or
yeah, you're like, oh, I remember seeing this guy a couple of days ago, and you know it just it's it's I don't know, man. I mean, I would hear stories about, you know, him, walking into a house and seeing two bodies that are related on opposite ends of the house with gunshot wounds. They're gone, and having to deal with tracking down the suspect.
Yeah.
And then when they confront the suspect, they're like, "Ah, I guess you guys are here for me," kind of a thing. And it's like it's so
Yeah,
very
that's what's unbelievable with a couple of these felons. I want to call them felons, even though they haven't been prosecuted at times. But when they get caught, it even my dad says it's like it's a Tuesday type deal, and
yeah.
and it sucks. And I mean, I watched a guy that got arrested up at the courthouse. I was getting something for my dad. Guy walked past me in handcuffs. He's like, "You're not afraid of me or anything like that?" It's like, "No, I've already dealt with people in up at Allred." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he was just talking like it was nothing. I was like, and the deputy came in, picked him up, and everything like that. He's like, and he came back. He's like, "Hey, did you know that guy?" He's like, "No, he just talks to me. People talk to me." He's like, "Did he say anything, incriminating?" It's like, "No, he's just chatting it up. Like, it's another day. He killed 3 people." I'm like, "We need any information that he might have gave you." I was like, I'm sorry. I would have give you the information to fucking put that motherfucker in for life if I had to. But he was just taking it as another day. I was like, yeah, I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah, I mean, and they're just, but there's evil that exists in this world, and it exists in varying degrees. And in the case of Heidi Littlefield,
He was a fucking cunt. I'll say.
hold on, I still have our sign. Do, 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 do.
Do you?
I still do, yeah,
Oh, I can't. Yeah.
yeah. Um, I
When
see you went T. It was like, well, I couldn't. Um, Somehow I don't think that Mr. Jobs or Mr. Wozniak would approve of that particular product. But
we just gotta get Matt to do it.
huh?
We just gotta get Matt to do it. Demo.
True. Of course.
I
Then
mean, some of
again,
the shit the fucking
and now no,
pulls
okay. So
out.
to exemplify the dark sense of humor that I said that we have, I said that Steve Jobs or or Mr. Wozniak would not approve of the Icon product.
Oh, okay.
They didn't approve a lot of things, like for example, Steve Jobs didn't approve of cancer treatments. Ooh, ooh,
Too
oh.
soon or too early?
Lord, I apologize. Be with all the starving pig needing to give me amen. Um,
No, it's like someone asked me one day, it's like, "Do you feel anything when you say like fucked up crap like that?" I'm like, "Dude, I literally had like an out of body experience one time when I died." And he's like, "Really? What happened?" I went straight to hell. I know where I'm going. Fuck off. I don't give a shit what the fuck I say anymore.
right, exactly. But all right, man. I think we can go ahead and try to land this plane because
Yeah. We're about an hour. So
we took a 30-minute show and we made it an hour.
yeah,
So
we do that. We do that. We're like, we're going
yay
to
us.
30 minutes. It's like, dude, it is early in the morning. We need to go
So
to
to borrow a line from Mike Rowe in the former format of his the way I heard it podcast, this week's episode was initially designed for the listener with the short attention span. And we failed miserably.
yeah, every time. Anyways, everybody, I'm David Dickerman.
I'm Johnny Skelton.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And y'all have
Peace.
a wonderful day. Love you guys.
Later.